She had just gotten out of surgery. 20 minutes home from the hospital, still groggy, barely standing, when the president of our HOA marched over in leopard leggings, snarled that medical contraptions are not allowed, and kicked the crutch out from under my wife on purpose. She almost fell on the pavement. That moment right there was the spark that burned Cheryl Davenport's empire to the ground. We had moved to May Plurist for peace, a quiet, neat little community where lawns looked trimmed, streets clean, families waved to each other. I'm a legal advisor. My wife Sabrina is a county judge, one of the sharpest legal minds I've ever known. We thought we were starting a calm chapter of life here. But peace ended. The second Cheryl introduced herself. The woman was mid-30s, frosted bob haircut, bouncing as she stomped toward us in oversized sunglasses, a yellow blouse stretched across her chest like it was her uniform. She said her name like it was a royal decree. I'm Cheryl Davenport, president of the HOA. I explained calmly. My wife just had knee surgery. We had the disability permit, the paperwork, everything. But Cheryl cut me off, smirked, and pointed at Sabrina's crutches. Those things are not allowed in common areas. Sabrina, still wincing, tried to reason with her. They're medical devices, just temporary. Cheryl sneered. I don't care if it's a day or a decade. They're against the rules. Then she did it. She kicked the crutch. My wife gasped, lost balance, and I barely caught her. My hands shook, not with fear, but rage. Through clenched teeth, I told her, "You just assaulted my wife. Step back now." Cheryl did, but not before hissing, "You newbies don't know what I can do. You'll find out." What she didn't know was that Elena, our neighbor across the street, had filmed the whole thing on her phone. That video would later become the wrecking ball that tore Cheryl's castle apart. That same night, as Sabrina scrolled her emails, she burst out laughing. I looked up confused. "Guess who just got assigned the HOA's lawsuit?" she said. My jaw dropped. The HOA was suing 5 families for nonsense violations, paint colors, lawn ornaments, overgrown hedges. Sabrina had been assigned the civil case. I asked if she'd recuse herself. She just smirked. "Not yet. Let's see how deep this goes." By morning, the war had officially begun. A violation notice appeared on our door, parking in an emergency zone, $250, causing disturbance in common area, another $250, and a handwritten note. "This is just the beginning. Welcome to May Plurist." Signed, Cheryl. My wife, who'd handled triple homicide trials without blinking, stayed calm. Document everything she said. Photos, copies, timestamps. We're building a case. I walked down to see Frank, a retired veteran who lived a few houses away. His walls were covered with medals, and his handshake felt like stone. When I mentioned Cheryl, he shook his head. She's been terrorizing this place for years, uses her lawyer buddy Marcus to scare folks into silence. He leaned closer. She's overdue for a reckoning. You're not alone. At the next HOA meeting, the circus began. Cheryl stood tall, reading off our supposed violations as though she were a prosecutor, practically pointing her finger at us like we were criminals. When I tried to defend ourselves, Marcus smirked and cut me off. "This isn't a courtroom, sir." I wanted to scream, but then Cheryl introduced a brand new rule right there, declaring that all medical devices required written approval before being seen in public spaces. She stared directly at Sabrina when she said it. The entire room went dead silent. That was Cheryl's style: make it personal, make it cruel, make everyone too afraid to speak. Afterward, Elena approached us quietly. "I've got more videos, more photos," she whispered. "She's been doing this for months. Seniors, parents with kids, people with health issues, she targets them." That was the moment I knew it wasn't just about us. We were part of something bigger. Sabrina dove into the HOA bylaws, pulling dusty binders apart at the kitchen table. Hours later, she looked up with a grin. 12 of these regulations Cheryl's been pushing. They were never voted on. No quorum, no record, completely illegal. That discovery gave us momentum. We became an unofficial resistance, me, Sabrina, Elena, and Frank. We built a simple website where neighbors could submit stories anonymously. Within days, over 30 poured in. Fines for wind chimes, ramps for wheelchairs, allergy accommodations, even someone leaving their garage door open too long. A pattern emerged. Cheryl was running a fraudulent regime. Of course she struck back. One morning we received a cease and desist letter demanding $100,000 if we didn't shut down the website. We laughed and framed it like a trophy. But Marcus escalated, threatening to put a lien on our home for $5,000 in fake fines. That one stung. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the letter, the weight of it pressing on my chest. For the first time I wondered if this fight was worth it. Maybe Cheryl was right. Maybe we didn't belong here. I felt crushed, small and angry at myself for dragging Sabrina into this. I thought, should we just give up? Sell the house? Walk away? But Sabrina reached across the table, her hand firm on mine. No, she said. We don't run from bullies. We take them down. Her voice carried the calm authority I'd seen in courtrooms. That was the moment I snapped out of it. I realized if I quit now, Cheryl wins. And if we fight, maybe we're not just saving ourselves, but everyone in this community. Then came the twist. The night before the HOA's disciplinary hearing, Cheryl showed up at our door, smug smile plastered across her face. I just wanted to inform you, she purred, that tomorrow we'll be voting to expel your family from this community. She expected me to panic. I just nodded politely. What she didn't know, what she could never imagine, was that the judge presiding over her HOA case was Sabrina. The hearing was legendary. The community center was packed, every seat filled, neighbors standing along the walls. Cheryl strutted in wearing a red blazer and a leopard skirt like she was dressing for the villain's role in a play. Marcus set up a slideshow accusing us of violations so absurd it was laughable. Our garage door was too reflective, our planter unauthorized height. Then Sabrina stood calm and firm, no crutches anymore. She cited the bylaws with the precision of a scalpel. According to Section 3.4, any new regulation requires a 60% vote. These violations were never voted on. Her voice didn't waver. Elena passed out printed packets to everyone, proof of Cheryl's fake rules. Frank spoke up about years of intimidation. Then one by one, neighbors began to stand telling stories, pointing fingers, voices shaking with anger. The tide turned in that room. Cheryl's face, twisted veins standing out on her neck as she screamed, "I make the rules." And then Elena pressed play on the projector. The video lit up the screen, Cheryl in her leopard leggings kicking Sabrina's crutch. Gasps filled the room. Silence. Then chaos. People shouted. Residents called for a vote of no confidence right there. Cheryl tried to shout over them, but the wave had already crashed. The trial that followed sealed it. Cheryl, desperate, even tried to parade in a so-called retired judge who turned out to be a real estate agent with a golf connection. It didn't matter. Sabrina ruled against the HOA on every count. All fines canceled, every illegal regulation nullified, residents refunded. Cheryl and Marcus were forced to resign, hit with personal liability, restraining orders, and ongoing criminal investigations. And when the officers finally escorted her out, Cheryl screamed, "Do you know who I am?" Yes, we all did. She was the woman who kicked a crutch and destroyed herself. That's where it ended. The tyrant fell her reign over May. Plurist shattered in front of everyone she once bullied. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this: never underestimate how fast a bully's power collapses the moment people stop being afraid.